Hey everybody, this is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. Well, I hate to say it, but I'm going to share my honest opinion here on what I see happening. It is my opinion, but I think that Prince Harry has been making moves to re-enter back into the royal fold. Looking at the news being promoted by the Sussex PR machine, you have to wonder, what is the purpose behind it? We know recently the couple have been snubbed for an invitation to go to Balmoral for the year anniversary of the Queen's passing. Then there were no birthday wishes for the washed-up D-list actress, Meghan Markle. And now we have this. So what exactly are they trying to do? Are they trying to make the family look cold and heartless? It does appear that way. So the question becomes, why is this breaking news and why is this dominating headlines now of all times? Like, the website had been changed and maybe throughout the bio, they left in His Royal Highness here and there. And that's exactly what was removed. But the question is, why is the media making such a big deal about it? I think Meghan had a hand in this, not Harry. And I think it was done purposely to knock him down as he's going on this pseudo-royal tour or simulated royal tour. The timing of this news being released about the website being changed was effective in getting people to say that you're not royal anymore. Why are you doing this pseudo-royal tour? I believe Meghan did this out of spite because, in my opinion, I think that she originally was supposed to be there. Now, I'm not sure how many of you remember this video from Neil Sean back in November of 2021. At the time of this reporting, the court case didn't happen yet. However, America was getting fed up with the Duchess writing letters to Congress about the stupid salad bar and pushing for paid parental leave. Let's not forget that she was calling Republican senators. The Harkles had been pissing off a lot of people. Let's go back in time to remember what the suppressed American media was saying.
Good news. A new envoy has arrived to end this brutal impasse. Meghan Markle. Yes, our long national nightmare is over. Meghan Markle is here. And she's got a plan to bring legislators together for a cause that she's championing: paid family leave. West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito received one of these cold calls. This is Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. How did she even get access to these private numbers? Gillibrand told the Politico that more cold calls from the Duchess are coming. Well, if they're anything like the ones she's made so far, the Duchess might want to save her minutes. Maine Senator Susan Collins told Politico that Markle's comments didn't have much of an impact. Quote, I was happy to talk to her, but I'm more interested in what the people of Maine are telling me. Not surprising. In what world, though, could she imagine that Susan Collins saying, you know, I wasn't in favor of paid family leave before, but when the Duchess of Sussex calls, well, I'm in. Let's light this rocket. The only thing these phone calls could possibly do is firm up resistance and outrage. Meghan Markle put this one on a silver platter. Look, politics is always in part about optics, and the optics here are terrible. Why is Senator Gillibrand giving out these numbers? If senators or presidents want to meet with famous people with causes, I think that's fine. Happens a lot. But it seems to me that this is different and a real issue when a senator is giving out private numbers of other senators for advocacy cold calls. And by the way, isn't Meghan Markle supposed to be apolitical? The Duchess stepped back as a senior member of the royal family in early 2020, but retained her title, and she's using it. Collins called it kind of ironic that Markle referred to herself as Duchess. What I'm trying to understand is, did she talk to anyone about this? Did someone advise her? Do you think that there were American senators who encouraged her to do this?
I bet, Dan, it was her PR firm. Don't forget, they have 3 PR firms on retainer. And actually, if you think about what's successful or not, we're talking about it tonight. And it's been as, it's been on Fox, it's been on numerous different networks. Her PR firm couldn't care less what happens to the royal family. And actually, many have obviously sort of projected that actually what she'd rather see is the royal family being undermined.
I mean, does she think this is going to help? or she's maybe just doing this to make herself feel good?
I think very seriously, what's very serious about this is, an overriding, let's look at an issue right now in terms of the Queen being 95. She's gone through a ghastly year. She's had all these issues with Prince Andrew. She's had her grandson, basically bully her on an international network with Oprah. And they've given out so many different lies, and they've made up so many sort of falsehoods, to say the very, very least. And now Prince Harry can't obviously control his wife, because he knows very well that you can't be a renegade royal over here in the United States, because you're breaking, yes, the point that you made earlier, Dan, you're breaking centuries of the royals staying out of politics, staying obviously not in American politics, let alone they shouldn't be in politics. And what happened at the COP26, that's a whole different issue here. But I would say very seriously, purportedly, Prince Harry was in a panic mode when he heard about his grandmother being hospitalized. But what does he think this is going to do exactly to her health? And then on the American side of things, we didn't elect Meghan Markle. She's not elected. So now to hear, and actually a point that you didn't mention, was that you're right that Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, she gave out the number, the Democratic senator from New York, but also she has said there are going to be more phone calls than just that one to Senator Collins of Maine, and also Senator Caputo from West Virginia. There are going to be more phone calls. She said, I gave out the more numbers to different senators. There will be more phone calls. She added that Meghan Markle is going to be in a group of people working on how long this paid family leave should be. We didn't elect her. Who has wanted her to be in that position? That's an issue for Americans to decide.
That what this has done is, I think it's backfired a bit, meaning that I don't think anyone was going to change their mind, right? It's not as if, as I mentioned, anyone's going to say, oh, I got a call, I'm changing my mind. And so I think that in the end, what you've done, though, is had some negative media attention surrounding it. Because, look, my first reaction was not even to think about the policy issue, and was to think about the protocol and think about what was happening. What was she saying? And that's not positive. It just doesn't seem to me that she's moving the ball forward in her cause.
Right. And also the letter that she sent about a month ago to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, that letter was on the Duchess Sussex letterhead. So that's formal letterhead, which again is breaking royal protocol. And also, Dan, think about this. They supposedly, again, another lie, but they left the UK. There was this Mexit move, obviously, as we all know. And that was to avoid all the publicity. That was to avoid being in the spotlight. That was for a quieter life. This isn't a quieter life.
So with all of that going on at the time, including, let's not forget, the daily hazing, I mean, every other week there was something going on that would dominate the news, such as like the bench. We had September trip to New York. Let's not forget that Meghan did her 40 by 40. She just had Lilibet. I mean, every single day there was something. So we were, quite frankly, over it. So according to Neil Sean in this video, Meghan and Harry's PR team had been re-strategizing, thinking that Australia and Japan were new markets for them to jump into because they were losing an enormous amount of popularity, and they were hoping to reignite the public's interest in areas that may not have read or heard about some of those terrible stories that had been coming out at the time. But then Australia was crossed off the list because it was then leaked that Meghan had allegedly said that she couldn't believe when they were down doing their royal tour in Australia that she wasn't getting paid for it. There was a focus on Japan and establishing more of these fake royal tours in 2022, and that's what we were starting to see, at least when they went and did Invictus at The Hague, and then in September when they went over to Europe and went on that royal tour before it got interrupted, unfortunately, by the passing of the Queen. Let's all not forget that in 2022, Harry randomly showed up at Pearl Harbor. 2022 had a lot of so-called wrenches that were thrown into Meghan and Harry's plans. So what I believe is what we're seeing now is a result of things that had been planned pretty much last year, just in my opinion. This particular event, the ISPS Sports Value Summit Special Edition, seems to have been created just for Prince Harry. If you were like me, you had no idea what this Tokyo trip was all about. All we knew was that Going to Singapore to play polo for Bali seems like an annual thing for Prince Harry to raise money. So it seems like every year, Bali and ISPS Handa do this polo. So last year, this was in Colorado. This year, it's in Singapore. But Harry's trip to Tokyo, we'll get to that. So ISPS stands for International Sports Promotion Society, and this was founded by Dr. Haruhisa Honda. He is the founding chairman and also a wealthy billionaire. He believes that sport has the power to inspire, transform, and unite people and communities across social, racial, and socioeconomic barriers. Yeah, it's one of those. He has been passionately supporting blind golf, guys, blind golf, in this aim for almost 30 years. Before I tell you about Dr. Honda, let me give you some fun facts. Some of its notable patrons are former prime ministers of Australia, Republic of Ireland, and New Zealand. Its notable ambassadors are Peter Phillips, Zara Tindall, and Mike Tindall. So now let's find out a little bit more about who is Haruhisa Honda. Described by Forbes magazine as one of the most fascinating and beguiling figures in Japan. Honda is not only a wealthy businessman and philanthropist, but is also a Shinto priest and operatic baritone, an expert calligraphist, artist, specialist in poetry, and avid golfer. Now, there's not a lot of information around how this man earned his billions, but the little information that I did find kind of creeps me out. So apparently, a lot of information has been wiped about this guy. According to Australian journalist Gregory Clark, he writes, Japan's new religions are becoming an international problem. The excesses of the so called Unification Church, born in Korea but which quickly became firmly established in Japan and the United States, led to recent assassination of Japan's former Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, by the son of a woman fleeced by the church. Now we have a Shintoist outfit which calls itself World Mate, and with a subsidy which calls itself World Support for Development. It was able to lure Scott Morrison from his parliamentary duties to join a group of other wannabe, some well known world political leaders to talk about how Japan and the Indo Pacific region will fare in a changing world. The meeting sold out to an assembly of believers in the luxury Deba Hilton Hotel at an expensive 5,000 to 8,000 yen, close to $50 to $80 for a 3-hour seat. Both the Shinto group and its leader, Haruhisa Honda, have complicated backgrounds and like often to change their names. The group started off in 1984 as Cosmomate, then Powerful Cosmomate, and finally ended up as Worldmate in 1994. So just so everybody understands, this is a religious organization that Haruhisa Honda had been or is still a leader of, but had changed his name several times over the years, and I'll explain that in a second. But his first name used to be Toshu Fukami. The article continues and says, it has relied on the usual new religion techniques of promising believers a place in heaven and freedom from bad karma through generous donations and purchases of spiritual goods. Like other new religions, it relies very much on being able to marshal supporters to vote for favored politicians. Some are progressive, but most are conservative. In its struggle to persuade the bureaucracy to grant it tax-free status as a religion, it is also said to have relied on donations to veteran conservative politician Hakuban Shimomura when he held posts monitoring the new religions. Honda also finds the funds to pay for regular, large half-page Shintoist messages in mainstream media preaching the spiritual qualities of fire. Despite his beliefs in some weird Shinto customs and self-made doctrines that he is both man and woman, for an example, it could be noted he claims honorary doctorates from the University of Western Australia, Curtin University, and Edith Cowan University in Western Australia. So here is where it gets really dodgy. So in 1994, this guy had two lawsuits filed against him for practicing methods of extracting money in return for so called claim healing. And then on top of that, a couple women came out and accused him of sexual harassment. But somehow this was brushed under the rug and they settled out of court. Then in November 1994, the government then came down and prosecuted him for failing to declare about $50 million in income and financing investments in Australia with this money. And when you look and see that he's got partnerships with Bill Clinton, that should tell you everything you need to know. So, what concerns me the most is this guy's involvement with Cambodia and students, as well as creating a hospital in Cambodia. Like, I'm getting serious Jimmy Savile vibes. Right now, in today's climate, knowing what we know with all these children being trafficked, and here we are, we have this billionaire who is focused on philanthropy that targets vulnerable people. Santa Bali is filled with vulnerable kids who have HIV. Cambodia, I mean, need I say more? The man's involved with Bill Clinton. I mean, yikes. Look, I've said this many times before. Meghan and Harry are straight up predators. They prey on vulnerable people. And what really creeps me out are the people that they choose to surround themselves with. So here's what I'm in the process of chewing on, and maybe you guys can help me and share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Over the last couple days, there has been quite a bit of chatter surrounding Meghan and Harry still being listed on the royal website. I have to agree with the folks that say that they should be removed because it is setting the wrong message to the world. And to be fair, the same should apply to Andrew since he's no longer a working member of the royal family. He's not so much as an issue in my eyes because he's not actively going out there influencing others in the world. So here is why this matters. So the reporting that we're seeing all around the world of Prince Harry are reporting him as Britain's Prince Harry. When you see that, they're still associating Prince Harry to the monarchy and still considering him and regarding him in the light of still being this royal who is doing his duty, which he's not. But more importantly, he's still being allowed the access to special benefits that he had when he was a royal. You know, when you think about it, the United States, this whole entire time, has been paying a certain level of security and surveillance for Prince Harry. And many of you might say, well, no, he doesn't have the HRH titles. No, it doesn't matter. The US doesn't care about that. What we care about is making sure that the King of England's son here, nothing happens to him, because that's the last thing we want. Do you honestly think if there is an assassination attempt on Prince Harry and something happens here in the United States, we want to have that blood on our hands? Absolutely not. So you know that there is a certain level of protection that this guy is getting, clearly from Homeland Security. In New York, whenever they came here, we gave them a level of security. I know this for a fact. This came out of my tax dollars paying for it. So wherever they are, they're getting something from our government for free. Look, the security may not be the obnoxious security that Meghan wants with all the motorcades and blocking up the roads, but they do have a level of surveillance that is keeping them safe. Do I think anybody's watching Meghan? No, but they are watching Prince Harry, and being that he's in Japan, the same thing applies. I'm sure that Japan has the proper security protocol and resources dedicated to Prince Harry, in which the people of Japan are now paying for that. Unless the US is paying for some of it, because Harry has friends in high places. So Ram Israel Emanuel is the brother to Ari Emanuel, who is the CEO of WME. For those that don't know, Ram is the United States ambassador to Japan. Well, isn't that convenient? It's my opinion, but I think this guy helped Harry get this Tokyo summit together. And I also think he helped Prince Harry get to Pearl Harbor. This was such a random turn up, and it would make sense if this guy helped Harry have access or be able to facilitate this, which means it is possible that Meghan was with WME as of last year, and they chose to announce it when they did, when, they felt that they could make the biggest splash. After the Netflix Forumentary, There was a lot of bad press coming out, and it would not have looked good, and I don't think the timing would have been right to announce something like that, but it would make sense because, let's not forget, in the Netflix Horrormentary, we had Jill Smaller in there. She is from the WME agency, and I believe she's the one that pulled Megan over. So if she was in this documentary and they had announced that, yeah, she's now with WME, it would look kind of funny having somebody speaking on behalf of Meghan as a so-called friend, but in actuality is working for Meghan and Harry. You know what I mean? So the next question that comes to mind is how long is Harry going to be in Tokyo and who else is he going to be meeting with? We all know that he's going to be playing polo in Singapore on the 12th, so that leaves a day or so to fill his time. Being that Harry is acting as if he's still royal leads me to believe that he still has the same kind of mindset. And when we talk about the mindset, let's remember that the royal family has a certain level of soft power. Let's all remember that Meghan and Harry were sent on this last minute trip to Morocco, and while it looked like on the surface this was just another royal visit, behind the scenes this was all about soft power and this, I guess, trade agreement that was happening at the time. Being that Meghan and Harry are both traitors to their countries and have no loyalty to anyone but themselves, should be stripped of any kind of perceived power that comes along with being associated with the royals, which the website is a perfect example of sending out the message that they're still part of the institution. It may be a small thing, but it is recognized by the King of England. So nobody's going to go against that. And that perception that's still hanging out there allows clearly for Meghan and Harry to do whatever they want, which is very dangerous. Having that status gives them access to very high level people, and that could be dangerous and threatening to not only the UK but also the US. Currently, right now, Japan gives quite a bit of money to the UK and had struck some kind of deal or in the process of striking deals. We don't know what nefarious business these two have been getting up into. We know that they are definitely corrupted, but as far as their own intentions and their selfishness, you can't trust giving them that kind of access. And this is why it's so important that King Charles fully understands that. Something tells me that he does understand it and is okay with it because it's furthering whatever agenda that these globalists are trying to push forward. And this is why these two have been able to get away with so much. I personally think that Harry is way more dangerous than Meghan. Meghan can write her book of lies and she can publish it, and yes, it will be fodder, but nothing as damaging as to what Harry could possibly do. Let's remember that Harry has been in the royal family his whole entire life. Meghan, maybe for a minute, but Harry has seen some things, he has heard some things, and I believe that King Charles is actually afraid, knowing what a loose cannon his son is. The family should have nipped this in the bud from the very beginning and put them in their place, stripped them of their titles, and set the tone from day one. I think it's absolute BS that it's taken so long to even make those few minor changes on the website. Pull the profiles down, period. Rip the darn band-aid off and let's get on with it. Or perhaps the message that's being sent is, yeah, the door is still open for Harry to come back. When you look at Prince Harry's page and you compare it to Andrew's page, you would think that Harry is still working as a royal member. The difference is so night and day. This is all that they have for the about pages for Meghan and Andrew. So I'm struggling to understand why Harry's doesn't look similar to either of these two. And this is what gives me the impression that this door is open for Harry to come back, and they are trying to figure a way back. And I think those rumors that are coming out about wanting to rent a place in Kensington Palace, I think this is Harry thinking that everything will be fine if he moves back there and that his family will allow it. Meghan's not going to go back there, and no way in hell is the family going to allow that. But for Harry, I think there is a possibility. And have we thought that maybe some of this stuff that's being put out into the press is Harry's way of communicating with his family? Because we all know now he doesn't have any kind of contact with them. And perhaps maybe this fake royal tour in Tokyo, then to Singapore for sent to Bali, is all for show to his family that he hasn't changed and he's still committed to doing life of service and duty now that he's broke and he wants to come back. These are just my thoughts and opinions, but what do you guys think? I know that a lot of this is speculative, but it would make kind of sense, you know. Anyhow, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I will talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.